So what I would like to do is sort of get your view, trying to understand what the ethical implications are of using generative AI in the social media, the marketing space. So with the rise of generative AI really creating highly personalized and targeted content, you can almost think of it as a market of one these days. Where should we draw the line between this really effective personalization, where you can get a marketing strategy that speaks right to you, versus the potential of being manipulated? How do you see that balance, and where should we draw the line?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ron. And I think there's a number of different angles to attack it from. But I want to take a step back first and just say that one of the real pitfalls of the emerging digital technology space in general, whether you're on the consumer side or whether you're a business looking to differentiate, or whether you're a vendor or a consultant advocating for the use of these platforms, is that the hype cycle generally dictates that there's always something fresh and new on the horizon, always a shiny new thing that is a potential distraction. And there's a real tension between recognizing the opportunity in these new tools and also realizing that none of them are a silver bullet. And that, what we need to do is attempt to contextualize all of these new, whether it's, not so long ago, it was NFTs and blockchain and cryptocurrency, and a little bit before there's big data and the cloud. And these are all really important innovations and developments in digital tech, but shouldn't be the end that we're pursuing. There should be a means to an end. And right now it is generative AI, and it absolutely is exciting and disruptive and forces us to think of all of the areas of business that we operate in really interesting new ways. But it's just one dimension of a multi-dimensional world of change and growth. And so I always walk this kind of fine line between celebrating and advocating for new technology and also trying to bring it into context so that we don't get distracted and overhype the space. Anyways, that was just the kind of caveat I want to say. As it pertains to personalized and targeted marketing across digital channels, I mean, obviously digital channels were appealing from the get-go because they offered us as marketers an opportunity to connect with customers with a level of intentionality and intimacy that we hadn't really enjoyed, and measurement with that we hadn't really enjoyed from other traditional marketing channels. And as digital has evolved, so have the opportunities for us to further target and personalize our content, to the point where it got quite like scary, almost, just how much we were able to specifically target people based on the information about themselves that they had willingly or unwillingly, or knowingly or unknowingly shared online. And obviously there's a conversation to be had around people's levels of understanding and personal responsibility around the data they share on the internet. But then there was kind of the big Cambridge Analytica explosion and all of the kind of awareness around, wow, there is a lot of information and data being transferred in and amongst these platforms by us, through us, sometimes innocuously, sometimes quite maliciously. And there needs to be a step up in the level of regulation and compliance. And so there have been massive steps forward in terms of GDPR and locally the Protection of Personal Information Act. And I suppose what that means is that there are two ways for brands to think about this. There is what we can do within the realms of what's legal and compliant, right? And then it's what we should do in the best interests of our customer and the value we can provide to them. And I find that in some industries that are hugely commoditized and deeply saturated, the former mentality tends to take precedence. Sort of Lord of the Flies kind of free for all, land grab, type of mentality around customer acquisition. And what we really want to be thinking about is how do we instead focus on rewarding the relationships in our existing customer base that are fruitful and productive. And I mean, the amount of attention your average bank gives the potential new customer versus the person that's banked with them
Really
for
banking.
10 years is obscene, right? Like it's terrible. And so those types of shifts, I think, are opportunities for us as marketers. And you know, really, the phrase that a banking client of mine shared with me recently sort of comes to mind. And the phrase was, I lie awake at nights thinking about the gap between what I could know about my customers and what I actually know about my customers. And it was said with the very best intentions. It wasn't about, ooh, I want a big brother spy on people being there.
Yeah.
It was just even what I could know within the realms of reasonable engagement between me and these customers over time. I still don't know because of the complexity and bureaucracy and legacy infrastructure that I have to overcome. But yeah, I think there certainly are ethical implications. And I think how we think about those and how we prioritize them is going to come down to the individual leadership strategies and culture of the organization that we're a part of.
Yeah. I think it's about doing the right thing versus what you can do, and that's going to be different in different situations. So
if that's the priority of the organization, but not all organizations think that way. So I get that. That's fine.
And that's